Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Price of gas is going up, and Bronco sent me notes. And Steve, just see a story out of San Diego. Dave Summers wrote it for NBCSanDiego.com. Two La Mesa neighbors say gas thieves drilled holes in their gas tanks. And this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. I remember when I was in high school, and shortly thereafter, gas prices broke $1 a gallon. And I remember driving one of my first jobs in a little car. I'd sold my Charger. Driving to one of my first jobs in a little car, seeing gas prices go over $1, and I thought, oh, it's the end of the world. I don't know how I'll be able to drive any place if gas actually is more than $1 a gallon. Yeah, I'm old. So last Friday, two La Mesa truck owners told police their fuel tanks were drilled and drained while they were left parked outside. Now they're facing expensive repairs and the risk of it happening again. And that's one of these things. I often talk about this, that when people steal something and the cost to repair the damage that they did is disproportionate to what they made from this theft, that it's actually wasteful. And I understand that it's actually bad also, and it's just evil, and people who steal catalytic converters should go to jail. But when you steal a catalytic converter and you sell it for $50 or something, but it costs like $1,000 to fix, it's just wasteful. And that's one of the reasons that I think courts need to look at people who get caught for petty theft and say, you know something, you may have stolen something and sold it for $50, but the crime here is not a $50 crime. It's a $1,000 crime because that's what it costs to fix. And then, of course, there's all the other issues that go along with that, the just pain and hassle of having to take your vehicle to dealership and have them order a catalytic converter and probably some extra pipes because they probably did a sloppy job slicing it out of there with their Sawzall. And yes, I know Sawzall is a brand name. So while it was raining outside, what was streaming from underneath Robert and Heidi Antonucci's truck last Friday morning was gasoline. Fuel plus fire plus air, creating an explosion of the gasoline, lighting him on fire, lighting the whole truck on fire. These are things that come to mind, said Heidi Antonucci, talking to NBC7, describing her fears about the danger a hole in her gas tank could present. And yeah, so someone apparently came up, drilled a hole in the tank, and used a bucket or something, caught the gasoline, and stole the gasoline. Now, I realize you probably couldn't do that with a bucket that easily, but you never know. And of course, drilling a hole in a gas tank does sound like a not terribly safe proposition. But another neighbor named Manuel suffered the exact same fate. His F-150's gas tank was also drained through a hole drilled in the tank. There was a large stain on the ground, and so Manuel suspects the gas ran out too quickly for the bandits to contain all of it. And yeah, that's also a problem too. You get gasoline all over the place. Manuel's truck was parked in the usual spot at his apartment complex. Antonucci's Toyota Tacoma was parked on Baltimore Drive, which runs between both victims' homes. So these trucks are parked in a place where they're accessible. Someone who's just walking around with a drill and a jerry can. Before this, the Antonucci's Tacoma had been burglarized, vandalized, and smashed by a hit-and-run driver. The truck was hit so hard it was pushed onto the sidewalk. Vandals shattered a side window. Another time, Heidi says, thieves stole a camera and flashlight when the truck was left unlocked. And it's a crying shame because, again, someone's smashing a side window to steal something from inside the vehicle. They're causing more damage than probably the value of what they're stealing. And I've mentioned before that years ago, one of my Ford Explorers was parked outside my office. And the office area was generally pretty safe. And somebody had gone through a bunch of parking lots just stealing stuff. And they smashed the passenger window out of my Explorer and stole my Sirius satellite receiver, which is like stealing a cable box. So someone said, hey, Steve, down in the parking lot, problem. I go down there. I see the broken window. I'm like, what did they take? And they took my Sirius satellite receiver. I walked inside, called Sirius, and I shut it off. So somebody then later walked into a pawn shop with a Sirius satellite receiver and said, I've got this satellite receiver with the wires in the back torn out because they didn't even remove it properly. And the pawn shop guy goes, that doesn't have any value. That's a subscription device. Without the subscription, it's worthless. So they caused damage to my vehicle, and they got nothing of value for it. So it's wasteful. Meanwhile, the Antonucci's say that having a hole drilled in their gas tank is the last straw. It's hard for me to get into that mindset of a person who would do that, Heidi said. It's really shocking. Their truck now needs to be repaired, and they've got an estimate of $1,500. And I suspect that while you can patch a tire pretty easily, I've patched hundreds of them in my life, patching a gas tank is a little more complicated because you're dealing with fuel. If you just wanted the gasoline, you could have siphoned it out. I don't know why they would go to the trouble of drilling the hole, Heidi says. And I remember back when gas prices, like I said, first went above $1 a gallon, there were a lot of locks sold, locking gas caps. And so, a lot of vehicles, even nowadays, you can walk up to a vehicle and open the door and there's the gas cap. And of course, if there is a thing that goes on there, you can buy a locking version of it. And then you have to lock it every time you put gas in or, take it out. Problem, of course, is that here they're not even bothering to go that route. They're going underneath the vehicle and drilling a hole. The theft is also exacting an emotional toll. Heidi and Robert have no room in their garage for the truck and have to leave it parked on the street. So once they get it fixed, they have to park it back on the street and hope that somebody doesn't come by going, hey, there's that truck I got the gas out of last time. It's been fixed. Now I can get some more gas out of it. So meanwhile, AAA recommends if you can't park your car inside a garage, try and find a well-lit area with lots of traffic. And of course, that's great advice if you can do it. But there are people who live places where they can't do that. And I may have mentioned before I had a Jeep Wrangler, a 95 Jeep Wrangler. I bought it brand new. And someone stole the doors off of it because they're easy to steal. And, where I had it parked that particular day, it was kind of back a little ways, and I can see why somebody could sneak up on it at that point in time and go, hey, I bet I can get these doors off of it. And so from that point forward, I would always park it in a better lit spot that was directly behind where I lived so I could look out and see it, But it's sad that you got to do that. And again, the fact that people cause more damage dollar-wise than the amount of money they make is one of the reasons that they have to take this much more seriously. And I've seen people in court. I don't do a lot of criminal defense these days, but when I go to court, I'm often there waiting for my case to get called or whatever. And I see other stuff happening. And there's some courts where you'll see a whole smattering of stuff on a given day. So you might be either on a lawsuit, which is a civil matter, and you might see people getting sentenced on criminal matters. And I've been in court before and seen somebody up there, and their fancy pants attorney is doing the song and dance about how this is just an isolated incident, and you really got to go easy on this guy. And all he did was steal a couple catalytic converters, a few $100s in damage, Your Honor. And it's like, really? It's a lot more than that. So I will admit, it's sad that that's what happens. That if you look at the crime scene and how the victims feel at that moment and compared it to how the defendant looks all cleaned up and dressed up in front of a judge with an attorney, all remorseful and asking for another break. And that's the problem. They need to come down on these people hard. So I hope they catch the people who are out drilling gas tanks. And I'll admit, I've not heard of this before, but I've heard of people stealing gasoline before. And of course, the desire to steal it rises proportionally with the rise in gas prices themselves. So 2 La Mesa neighbors say gas thieves drilled holes in their gas tanks. Dave Summers wrote it. Bronco sent it to me. Thanks a lot. NBCSanDiego.com ran the story. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Minimalism is built around the idea that there's nothing that you're lacking.